Hi, this is Joe from Synergy's Accidentally Fit podcast, and it is my pleasure to be joined today by Theresa, who raised her hand nervously and volunteered to speak on behalf of Endwell Family Physicians and share some tips with you. Endwell Family has been great in the area. It's where I take my kids and where I go, and they've done a lot for wellness. So I was hoping that I get to speak with someone, and I'm very happy that Theresa volunteered graciously to be on the call. Thank you for doing it, Theresa.
Yes, of course. I'm happy to be here.
So first, can you tell us a little bit, before we get into your 3 tips, about you and your expertise?
Sure. So I'm a family nurse practitioner. I've been practicing for a little over 7 years now. My background is I worked in a diabetes office and did a lot of diabetes management and thyroid management in a local endocrinology office. And then I joined Endwell Family just over 3 years ago and have been doing, of course, family practice, but then quite a bit of diabetes management in there too. And I think this kind of goes well with what we're going to talk about today, because diabetes or no diabetes, we're all looking to be healthier. And so hopefully I can help out with that.
Oh, absolutely. And that's right on topic, because we do get a lot of people that join our Synergy locations because they are either pre-diabetic or they have a history of it in their family, whether it's genetic or it's lifestyle choices, but they're looking to try to get ahead of it. So it's something we all should be very aware of. So let's start with your first tip. What are we talking about today?
So my first tip is brainstorming. And so this could go a lot of different ways, but I like to think back if there's ever been a time when, maybe somebody has been more fit or a little bit more healthy. It's easy. I loved the intro that you did for this podcast about how kind of small habits over time, you became accidentally unfit. And so kind of really taking a moment, being a little bit more mindful, thinking about, was there a time where things were going a little bit better? Was I doing different things at that time? And maybe what were the changes that were made to get to where, you are now. So, looking back on what you previously did, and okay, is that something that you could slowly start to reincorporate into your life? Because I think that, at a time, probably everybody has done a little bit better than we've all done this year, right? And so it's easy to kind of get lost in those bad habits. And I think somewhere along the way, there's been good habits that have tried to peek through. So thinking about some of those smaller changes, and then thinking about, prioritizing which ones are the most attainable. So is it, grabbing a processed snack or, having more healthy snacks on hand, like fresh vegetables or fruits or that sort of thing. One of my big ones, I always used to get, balsamic vinegar on the side. And now I'm like, put that ranch right on top of that salad. So it's just simple things like that, you get out of the habit of, and those are, kind of easy, quick things that you could do on a daily basis. The other one, another trick that I like, or, have done in the past and kind of get out of it, because we all do it, is, eating your sandwiches open faced, or like if you're going to get a burger and fries, maybe lose the bun so you can enjoy the fries. Having just half a piece of bread for your sandwiches as opposed to the full thing. So kind of small, very, minute changes that could be made, easy things that you could do that, over time can lead to some bigger changes.
I love that on 2 different levels. I was just shooting some videos for the gym members, and one of them I was talking about where we have this perception of getting healthy is you need tons of motivation to overcome this huge mountain of challenges. And you can and we all focus on coming up with the motivation, but we never focus on taking those challenges and making them smaller. So you can take that mountain and turn it into a hill by, number one, reflecting back on what you've already done that's been successful and develop big, small wins. And the second thing is like what Theresa's talking about is don't picture it as an overwhelming, I need to go forever without dessert. I need to go forever without French fries and all that. And you make this huge mountain of challenges, but instead of shrinking it down to something that's more obtainable, like I can eat an open-faced sandwich. Yeah, I can do that. And you start building up those wins, and you can lead it to a healthier lifestyle over time. And on the second level, there's a lot of psychological research behind it that the easiest way to get started on something is to give yourself credit for what you already done, so you don't view yourself like you're starting at zero. And it works from everything from gym exercises, and they did a study on this for car washes. Where they would give people you go visit 10 times and you get your little stamp, and on the 11th one it's free. or they gave people one that had 9 and they stamped one already. So the people saw that one was already done, and their attendance to that car wash went up almost 30% because they saw that they were already along the path of getting that free car wash. The same thing is true with exercise. Give yourself that first stamp towards the big prize at the end by giving yourself credit for what you've already done. So I love that you shared those tips.
Yeah. And I like that, like the hills versus the mountain. I see a lot of people and they're like, well, I'm going to cut out all carbs. And I'm like, no, that's not even like, don't do that. We love carbs. Carbs are like, I mean, they're delicious. And on some level, our body does need that energy. So, I'm a big kind of believer in everything in moderation. We do the best that we can, but when you go this all or nothing, there are a small group of people I think that all or nothing works for, but for the majority, that's just, eventually it's going to catch up, and it's going to make people either fail in one of their goals, or make them quite honestly miserable, because who doesn't want to go life without any sort of carbs or enjoyment? So the everything in moderation, I think, is a great tool too.
And I do appreciate you pointing out the fact that doing something restrictive or challenging might be the right fit for some people at some time.
Yes.
And when I wrote a book, Busy Eating Strategies for Busy Adults, I should know my own book name. It explains that you should look at a calendar and identify times where, yeah, maybe for these 21 days where there's nothing going on, I'm really going to try hard in my nutrition, my exercise. And during the holiday time that we're interviewing at right now, you know what? I'm going to back off that stuff. I'm just focusing on the small habits. So setting the right expectations that are going to be accomplishable for you at the right time will help things work out. And it's funny, we were talking about kids a little bit before we got on the call, and I learn a lot from kids' books now that I'm reading them to my kids now. And there's one, I think it's Dr. Amen, that wrote a book called Captain Snout and the Superpowered Question. Oh. And this children's story and the superpower questions, because we build up things to be so challenging in our mind, and you talking about carbs reminded me of this, is asking the question, are you sure that's true? Say, well, I'm not ready to eat healthy. I can't do without carbs. Well, are you sure that's true? Like, are you sure you have to do without carbs? I can't exercise. Well, are you sure you can't do any exercise? Like, you have to resize it by asking yourself, are you sure that's true? And yeah, I'll tell you what, I learned a lot from kids' books.
Very nice.
Maybe it's just more digestible for my academic ability.
Nice and simple.
What's your second tip?
So the second one kind of goes into what you were just talking about. Great segue. Planning and prepping. So, I mean, I know it's very cliche, but if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And I really believe that. And so I'm a big list person. I've got my notebook right here. I've got to get all of this out and put it out on paper. And it can't even be in my phone most of the time. It's got to be written, handwritten. So planning and prepping, and that's everything from, your meals to then your grocery list, to prepping the meals, the beginning of the week, whatever your beginning of the week is, really prioritizing that time and giving yourself, 45 minutes or an hour to really think about, all right, what am I going to do this week? What's going on this week? What's realistic as far as how many times do I have to cook dinner, or can I, use leftovers or whatever it is, but really just focusing your efforts on that time and making that time a priority. And so whatever, there's so many different planners. I love getting all, real detailed with it and just jazzing it up so it makes it enjoyable. So on Sundays when I'm like dreading the work week, right, I've got a little bit of time to really kind of focus of what we're doing. And I've enjoyed this time because I love recipes. I love, trying out new stuff. So I've got some new cookbooks, and, that gives me time to really look through them and be intentional with that time, as opposed to sitting on Pinterest or Facebook and looking, at whatever it is. This is a little bit more intentional, and then, setting up your work week. And if you put the time in, I think in the beginning of the week to do the shopping and to do, cut up all the celery and the carrots, you're more inclined to eat it. Cause I mean, as far as I know, like my time is very valuable. And if I'm going to do it, I better follow through and make it, keep making it worth it. So I think that that's really important. And starting off small, maybe setting a goal for like 2 or 3 days a week you're cooking at home, or 2 or 3 days a week you're bringing everything, to work as far as your lunches, and then allowing yourself, the other days to maybe eat out or what have you. But I think you have to plan, you have to prep, you have to write things down, you have to take, some ownership over what your week's going to look like, or what your month. Some people meal plan on a monthly basis, and I just can't get there, but someday.
I think that leverages two concepts: time blocking, where people think it's so overwhelming, but you have, I think you said Sunday for yours, where you say, all right, this is my time to plan. If you think about it, all week long, it's just too overwhelming. It's too many decisions to make on a day-to-day basis of everything you're putting in your body. But if you take an hour and plan ahead, you're actually save yourself time during the week, so you're not stressing over all those decisions.
Yeah.
The second thing it leverages is we've all been raised to not throw away food, and if you prep it, you'll probably eat it.
That's right. That's right.
Now, before we came on, we were talking kids. How old are your kids?
So my daughter's 5. She just started kindergarten, and my son is 3.
So here's the question I get all the time. How the heck do you integrate them into your eating plan? Where's some balance you found?
So we do the best that we can. So we eat, we eat pretty reasonable, I would say, at home, a meat and some sort of a carb for the kids, usually, and a vegetable. And we just keep offering it to them. So we always have our kids try whatever we're having first. And we don't do like crazy, variety, I guess. Like, I'm not like cooking Thai food at home. I'll get it for takeout, but we're not doing anything too crazy here. So we have them try it, and it's hit or miss. I think that's how kids are. My son's on a peanut butter and jelly kick, and quite honestly, it's fine. He eats, he'll try whatever we're having, and then he'll get a peanut butter and jelly sandwich if he doesn't. My daughter's better, and actually, it's kind of crazy. She loves a spinach salad. She's 5 and she loves a spinach salad.
Awesome.
And she's just been exposed, and we eat that a lot of times as our side dish. And so she wanted to try it, and now she loves having that as part of her meal. So I do believe that the more exposure and the more, it's easy to kind of give up on these kids, because, as far as feeding goes, they're like, they're so picky, they won't eat anything. And I get that, but I also think that, you just keep letting them try it. You keep kind of pushing them a little bit, and they'll come around. I really think that. So
it goes back to my reading level, which is children's books, where I do hear people say like, hey, they'll never eat anything. Are you sure that's true? Like, right. Nothing. And we have a 10, 8, and a 2-year-old. And we've taught the 10 and 8-year-old a couple moderately healthy alternatives that they like. We let them pick it, that they know how to make themselves. So here's what we're having for dinner. If you don't like it, that's fine. Just like you said, you taste it, and then you can make one of your other 2 options if you want to make it yourself.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait for that stage. Make it yourself.
It's just like oatmeal, or like you said, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, or they get like turkey and some mozzarella cheese, and they roll it up and they just put it on the plate. So they have a couple options. And our older son, who doesn't really like healthy food, likes that as an option. It's almost like your open-faced sandwich idea. He's just having some turkey and some cheese.
And I also think it's easy to kind of get lost in it too. Like, I had a family the other day, and they were worried that their kids aren't eating anything. And so then I asked the kids, I'm like, well, what kind of vegetables do you like? And, the daughter like broccoli and cucumbers, I think. I'm like, well, so keep feeding her that. That's fine. Offer some other things maybe once or twice during the week, but just go with it. Kids like the same things. And if you feed them the same things every day, eventually they'll get sick of it, but they do pretty good. So just have cucumbers on hand all the time. Then if that's something that, your kid likes right now, let them like that and let them enjoy it. And, just, if we don't want to eat it every day, we don't have to, but if they do, and they will, then just do it,
Yeah, that's
it doesn't have to be as complicated.
All right, very cool. What's the third one?
So the third one, I kind of went back and forth on, but I think I'm going to call it grace. And so giving yourself some grace, right? Especially right now, it's things are way weird, and we're all just doing the very best that we can. But I think that kind of goes for every year. Life is hard, and this is hard, right? Being kind of putting yourself as a priority and making the hard choices every day to eat healthy, right? Like, if I could eat a bowl of ice cream every day, I would. I don't every day, but it's hard to not want to do those things. And so allowing yourself, just the opportunity to say, it's okay if you kind of mess up one day, but that's not an excuse to just throw in the towel completely, right? It's easy to say, well, it doesn't matter because I had this yesterday, and I'm doing this today, and I'm not going to be able to exercise all week, so I'm just going to give up. And that's, I think we all have moments of, or days or weeks even, of not being able to do the best that we can, but allowing yourself to feel that and to know that you're going to get back on track when you're able to. So, giving yourself the grace. And the other thing I kind of just wrote down was,
Bonus tip. I like it.
bonus tip. Yeah, it's just,
Usually I don't give forward tips, but you know what? I like everything you've been sharing, and I appreciate you guys at EFB. So bonus tip for everyone listening. Go ahead.
It's just things aren't always as easy as they used to be, right? Like 15 years ago, pre-kids, all the time in the world. Things are harder now. We have more responsibilities, more commitments, and you have to allow yourself grace with that too, because you can't compare yourself to your person 15 years ago to your same self then, because things are way different. So you just do, the best that you can.
I love that tip, because we do hear people come in, we're like, hey, I want to weigh like my high school weight. I'm like, you know what? We have to discuss that, because, you're 40, your metabolism's different, your lifestyle's different, your day-to-day and this year and everything's just been so crazy. So it's almost like if you find yourself so attracted and obsessed to like a weight that you might have had before, maybe shift your goal to something that you haven't accomplished before. So something completely new. So you're not always comparing yourself to a previous time. And maybe that's go run a 5K or 1 mile, or do an activity like a rower, or, just try to improve on something that you've never tried to improve on before. So it takes the stress away of comparing yourself to something that might be unrealistic.
Yeah, I love that.
And I do like the grace, because we see people snowball a lot. And that is probably the number one thing that happens if people fall off their exercise routine and they just think, screw it all. And then they go back to the ice cream every day. When they, looking back at it, that day that they decided to stop, or the day after, or the day after that, it took them a long time to achieve that. And if they just say, all right, I'm going to cut myself some slack, screw it up, I'm going to get back on track tomorrow. That's going to set them up for longevity, because no one, very much myself included, can't go a month with eating like what we view as super clean eating. And that's why we call it accidentally fit, that these little habits over time, you'll look in the mirror and say, wow, I am fit, and take the mindset of I am a healthy person and a fit person. And that with that comes the commitment to healthier habits and being able to stick to them. So I love that last tip, because I see people snowball all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I appreciate the bonus tip too. Four spot. The listeners are in for a treat.
I got lots more to say.
Well, you know what? We'll probably have you on later on in the summer or something too, because right now this will come out around the New Year's time. And I think all these tips are extremely appropriate for that time, where we're not going to hold ourselves to a previous standard, or feel guilty over whatever happens during the holiday season. Because even in the book that I was talking about that I wrote, that it's like, hey, during the holiday season, you have to cut yourself some slack. You have to be realistic. Maybe take this time, if you're consuming more, exercise a little more, find a little balance, use that extra energy. But whatever it is, give yourself some freedom to be successful again. And planning ahead of time, like you mentioned, is a big part of it. And setting that mindset and achievable goals is so important. So Theresa, I really appreciate your time today. That was an awesome conversation. See, it wasn't that bad, right?
No, this is easy.
Well, let me do the quick wrap up, because I want to tell the local audience where they can learn more about you over at Endwell Family Physicians. Again, we've had interactions with a lot of employees there and staff there, our members at our facilities, and they do such a good job. And my kids really appreciate going there, and they take a reasonable approach, and we're very fortunate to have them in the community, and a good place to learn more about them, I believe, is the Facebook, and Tracy said Instagram. You guys are going like young kids these days.
Oh, yeah, we've got Instagram, and then our website too, of course, Endwell Family Physicians website, and we're accepting new patients all the time. So, check us out.
And what kind of patients are you looking for? Just so
we're family practice, right? So we have lots of physicians and nurse practitioners, and so we see everybody across the lifespan. Like I said, have a certification in diabetes management. So if anybody needs some extra diabetes help, come on over my way. But we do a great job, I think, in the community as far as patient care.
Absolutely. And community goodwill. I like driving by and seeing your sign that's lit up with different things, always celebrating someone's birthday or celebrating an anniversary. So I really appreciate all the good in the local community that Endwell Family Physicians does, and you donating your time to share some ideas with people today. So I highly recommend you check it out. And I appreciate all the listeners of the Synergies Accidentally Fit podcast.